Well, we're live on YouTube and Facebook.
Chris cooking Nashville. I love it. I love it. We got to put. So this is our keto carnivore, and we're into the loving. We love plants, but we love to hate plants.
Absolutely.
All right, you're live. I'm going live. We're all going live.
Hello, everybody.
Good
Hello,
morning.
everybody.
Good morning.
All right, we got Chris cooking Nashville today, Alia, Dr. Nelson, and it's a beautiful day in paradise. It is the 4th of March. It's all zipping in life, and it's a great day. And we're going to talk about, what are we talking about today, Chris?
Well, I think we're talking about keto and carnivore and food and all the ways we can all be healthy and happy.
I mean,
yes.
What is the confusion about food? Why are we so confused?
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward, but I think there's a lot of bad information. I certainly was struggling with bad information, so actually some of your information helped get me on the right track, Dr. Kiltz.
Well, I look back at some of my older posts, and I'm like, what was I talking about? But yeah, we're all on the journey together. I mean, we find ourselves in this cult of carnivore, and that's how I got a chance to meet Peter, Papa Carnivore, who loves food, our good friend Mitch, who's healing out there. And what got you inspired to get on this crazy carnivore, ketovore journey and food journey?
Yeah, I grew up as a foodie. I love food. I love the concept of food. I love the culture of food, what food means to people, and that's what I was used to. And I ended up with a very severe carbohydrate addiction, which that's not something that I ever knew was a real thing. And I was struggling with physical inflammation and brain inflammation and all kinds of things. I was almost 400 pounds. I may have actually been over 400 pounds, but at one point you just stop getting on the scale because it's so depressing. And I was struggling with so many things, and I ended up getting to a point where, well, the pandemic happened, and I'm a full-time musician, so is my wife. And when the pandemic happened, we lost everything we had, and the only thing we had the opportunity to do was try to fix our health. And so we came across the concept of keto and carnivore because my dad and my mom were starting to do the whole keto thing. They were taking care of themselves. And so I started watching Dr. Ken Berry. I started watching you, Dr. Kiltz. I started watching Dr. Baker, all these different things. I started researching, and we ended up going the route. We started with keto. Then I decided to try carnivore because I thought of it just as a weight loss booster and wanted to do that. And my brain, about 2 weeks into carnivore, awakened in a way that I have not experienced since I was probably a little kid. And I had what I would now term a sort of dietary-induced depression and anxiety that all went away that I didn't even realize I had until one day I woke up and I was like, is this what it feels like to actually feel like a human being who's alive again? And I fell in love with it. I had to go through a little rough spot with not dealing with my carb addiction. I thought I could just control it. And I kind of went back off the rails for a while. And then I had to admit this was a problem. So I ended up starting back on carnivore after I'd gained a bunch of weight back, knowing that that was the right thing for me to do. And I was like, I need a support system. So I started vlogging. I started my channel. I ended up starting to make recipes, just not because I really needed them physically, but because it was something that kept me taking my foodie element and focusing it in the right direction. And I kept coming across people that were asking, like, what do you eat? Like, I get so bored just eating meat. What do I do? And I ended up creating this kind of whole world of figuring out, well, if you're not just going to eat, say, like, beef, eggs, and salt, and if you're not going to do that, what can you do to not go back the other direction like I did? And so I started creating recipes and tracking my progress online, and here we are today, and now this is what I do full time.
That's awesome.
And tell us a little bit about your musical creativity. What got you there? What's your tools?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you probably see the guitars hanging on the wall behind me. When I was, I was probably about 11 years old. I was homeschooled from fifth grade all the way through my senior year of high school, and my mom is an educator and a very good one at that. And so she said, as part of your schooling, we need to do music of some kind. So pick an instrument. And I was thinking a number of different other things, and then my dad turned on the TV one day, and it was a Van Halen concert from probably around 1984, and Eddie Van Halen ripped through a guitar solo, and I said, that, I want to do that. And so I ended up getting a guitar and starting to play, and took a few years of kind of doing it casually, and then by the time I got to high school, I started doing it very seriously. I ended up going to college here at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Music Business with a emphasis on songwriting. They have a songwriting program there. I was in the first graduating class from that, and I have a minor in classical guitar, and got into the music scene. I had a career in higher education for a while because music is a tough way to make it. Maybe not as tough as YouTube, but it is tough. And I ended up doing that for a little while, sort of came back to it. So I teach guitar. I play lead guitar for my wife, who's an independent country artist, Ash Taylor. And I'm her band leader and her manager, and we tour around the country and we play. And I do some of my own songwriting. I've released a few singles under my own name as well, with some guitar slinging kind of stuff. But I do a combination of rock, hard rock, hot country, southern rock, all of those kinds of things. And I will have to say, one of the things I did not expect when I went carnivore, my guitar playing and my writing and all of that stuff got a lot better. So the health and the guitar, both hand in hand, work so much better for me.
So what do you think is the hardest part about carnivore?
I think the hardest part of carnivore is getting over the hump to get into carnivore. I think once you're into carnivore, it's not really a big deal, but getting over that first learning curve, I think, is the most difficult thing, between the feeling like you're going to give up all of these foods that you're just psychologically so used to eating, and the way you cook and the way you do things socially and all of that stuff. I think wrapping your mind around the idea that you can get into carnivore and be stable and be happy and not feel like you're missing something, I think that is so hard to see, because when you're not on the other side of it, you just kind of have to take that on faith that it's going to be worth it, and just getting yourself to really fall in love with that idea of being healthy, and that carnivore is the way that's going to make you feel that way. That is so hard to do when you are so covered up by carbs and junk that you don't realize is messing with your brain.
We have a lot of people here. We appreciate everyone's like, subscribe, and share. And what is it? Hashtag
Chris cooking.
Chris cooking for what's the gift today?
Kiltz is keto is carnivore.
All right. I think we're gonna get Chris and Kiltz to put something together.
That would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Cool. I'll maybe bring my guitar.
Yeah, there we go.
You guys both need to do a little a duet this morning.
Well, maybe we get Chris coming up to our Syracuse meetup in September. We got to get the venue, the date, and all those other things, and we're cooking. But I always say my mother's cousin's son is Bruce Springsteen, so we all have a little energy in there, wouldn't we?
Yeah, very cool.
Cool.
I want to say, everybody who's putting Chris cooking, it's Chris cooking spelled out one word to get into the giveaway. Hashtag Chris cooking spelled out one word.
Hashtag gets you in there.
Oh, wow.
One word.
Someone
Awesome.
has my name. I never see that.
Oh,
hello, Alia, right? I'm Alia Wells. Nice to meet you.
yeah.
Nobody has my name.
Here's a question from Victoria. Can I continue OMAD carnivore first trimester?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
I'm not the fertility doctor, but yes, you can.
Dr. Nelson, any thoughts? What do you think? I mean, like like 50,000 years ago, someone said, "Oh, you're pregnant in the first trimester. You better have 6 meals a day."
And if you didn't have the veggies available, would you not eat?
You know, and I guess what the question is fat, is being fat, as we've sort of labeled in this world, the cause of any disease?
No.
And even I wonder if mentally, have we been brainwashed to believe who we are is bad? I mean, isn't that kind of what modern medicine does? It likes to tell, oh, it doesn't look so good, right?
Yeah. I remember being like 12 and looking at like Teen Vogue and all these magazines and being like, I'm going to get that skinny today. I never got that skinny, by the way. But that's what the girls want. They want to look like that because that's what the Hollywood stars look like. But I'm very healthy.
So when you began this, Chris, and most of us, I know Dr. Nelson and many of us started in the keto world.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you put plants in your belief of health and wellness today?
Right. So generally what I do, I still use a few spices, or occasionally I might throw some herbs on something for just flavor purposes and for the fun of it. My wife actually, she's done carnivore, but she actually feels better being just a little more ketovore. And I think that's maybe something that over time, as her body heals, maybe she'll go more carnivore. I'm not really sure. Certainly not the expert on that, but she kind of does what feels good to her body. I tend to use plants as the occasional spice or herbs on something, and I'm not afraid of plants or against the idea that plants can be enjoyed or helpful. I think, obviously I think it's ancestrally appropriate that if we were struggling to find meat, then we would have eaten what we had. So, I think if someone finds that they enjoy a little bit of that and it doesn't bother them the way it bothers me, I'm not going to tell someone what they are or are not experiencing inside their own body. And I think that, if you're ultimately healthy and happy and everything in your body and your brain are good, and that includes some plants for you, then, I'm not one to judge. It doesn't work as well for me, but if it works for somebody else, then I just support them being healthy and happy.
I have a question. Have you found, once you made the transition to carnivore, and you probably eliminated sometimes more than others, even some of the spices, have you found anything that now you realize I am sensitive to that food? For example, for me, something simple as black pepper is not good, but it wasn't a strong thing. So in the past, I didn't realize it.
Yeah, so the first time I did carnivore, I actually did, I think it was about 75, 80, I forget exactly. It was about 75 or 80 days. I did meat, salt, water, and I cut out all spices, and it was just meat, salt, water. I cut out the coffee, I cut out everything. And then I added one thing back in at a time. And what I would do is I would add something, and I would wait 2 or 3 days before I added something else, so I could target and pinpoint which ones may or may not be causing issues. And I actually have IBS and a couple of other sorts of things like that are the first place that any kind of inflammation or something that bothers me comes up. I also dislocated my right knee when I was in high school and when I was in Taekwondo, and I also broke my left ankle when I was close to the highest weight that I was, and so I have a metal rod in my left ankle because I was so large when they fixed that for me. So those are the places immediately I feel inflammation. I know there's a problem. I know something reacts for me. So things that I react to, if I go too far with anything that has capsaicin, anything spicy, that really messes with my intestines. If I have anything from the brassica family, the cabbage, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, that does all sorts of issues for me, but it also causes brain fog and irritability immediately. Within a day or two, I can tell that's a problem. So really anything that's dark green color really seems to mess with me. And also I've noticed some of the like the curry type spices or the real heavy seed based spices, if I use more than a little for flavor, I'm going to feel it after a day or two. So I only do that for special occasion meals. Interestingly enough, black pepper does not seem to bother me. I know it really bothers some people. It does not bother me. I tried no pepper, and then I tried white pepper, and then I tried black pepper, and I've noticed no difference in any of those. So that one particularly for me doesn't seem to be an issue. But there are definitely spices that as I did that, I was like, yeah, that's not a good one. The ones that I seem to handle really well are really like the aromatic herb type stuff, like garlic and onion, that kind of stuff. I don't use very much because I don't want the carbs that come with it. But when I use a little bit of that, those don't really seem to bother me too much. So it's that, salt, pepper, a few of those kinds of things. And I tend to avoid the nightshades mostly because some of them don't bother me, but a lot of them can mess with me if I have too much.
My concern is it's doing damage under the radar until it shows up. And that's the sneaky plant. Remember, they want you and I to be fertilizer. They're live organisms that know how to coax us in order to consuming them. And that's our problem. And so I'm just wondering if truly all of us are sensitive to it, but some people are more acutely aware and others are less. And so I look at like IBS is like poison ivy, right? Is there a poison ivy disease?
Right.
There's not. Exposure to an antigen and microbes, bacteria, yeast, viruses, and other microbes, macrobes, bugs and beasts and plants are highly antigenic, meaning that they cause inflammation. Most inflammation happens under the radar. Like cancer and heart disease is just a inflammatory allergic reaction. Over time, it suddenly shows up. I was watching some YouTube short on actors that died on set. Okay. Now we're all obviously going to die, and when and how we die, nobody knows. And so the magic is, and heroin, cocaine, marijuana, caffeine, and alcohol are really plant and microbial products to control and kill us.
Yeah.
So I what I found over years, I mean, I don't touch garlic anymore. I don't touch pepper anymore because and again, I'm like 70 almost, and I'm sure you're like 30 almost, and it becomes, you can handle it when you're younger for most of us, but after a while, and we enjoy the capsaicin and the garlic and the onions, but after a while, we're like, when we get, it's like, okay, I can't touch that anymore. What are your, I mean, obviously as a cook, a chef, a writer, a musician, a creative, we know that it's the spice of life, right? We have to throw it into it, right? And so what are your thoughts on, and maybe how you've changed in your evolution? How long you been carnivore and ketovore?
So this time around, it's just a little over 2 years now.
When was the first round?
So the first one, we began keto the first time at the beginning of 2021, and that was about 9 months or so. We did keto for about 3 or 4 months, and then I went carnivore, and then started dipping my toe back into standard American diet stuff as I thought I had it under control, and that kind of rolled down that path of re-flaring up the carb addiction I was trying not to admit that I had.
We're addicted to food. I don't know. Does any other animal say, "Oh, you have an addiction," or we're the only one that labels ourselves with these things? I mean, you're eating a plant. You can't find an animal. Would we call that an addiction?
Right. Right. Yeah. I think for me, the feeling of the addictive nature that I was going through, I don't necessarily know if it was an addiction necessarily to any of the specific items so much as I think it was addicted with psychologically to the idea of honestly, I was at a point where I was binge eating at times in my life, and I was eating things that were filled with chemicals and fake colors and like MSG and like all these different things that make your brain light up and everything. And so I think, truthfully, I think my addiction was probably less to the actual food and more to the chemicals that were put into that stuff and to the idea of just binging on something to try to treat all of the strange things that were going on in my head from the inflammation, because I was trying to treat my feelings and treat my issues with food rather than dealing with things in my life.
And ultimately, I still think maybe this is all just natural to our instinct, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the, we've created all these labels. There's something wrong with us, but maybe there's nothing wrong with us. And how do you think? I mean, would you say part of your creative nature is sort of without those challenges and hardships, would you be where you are today with your creativity?
Right. Yeah, this is something that, my wife Ash and I have talked about this, because I remember telling her one time, I don't understand why I ended up having to be 400 pounds, right? Why did I end up having to get to that point? Why was I going through so much pain and all these things? And she is an extremely wise woman and definitely my better half, but she was the one that really helped point out to me. She was like, if you hadn't gone through the things that you went through to get where you are, how many people who are struggling with their health, who might consider something like a carnivore diet or a keto diet or any of the different things that may help them feel better in their life, how many of them would not consider it because you never started a YouTube channel and you never started talking about this and you never started creating recipes, and you've we do this thing that it's so funny. This happens all the time. We go out on tour and we're backstage, we're in the green room and we're talking to people, and you have to realize too, as musicians, like, we're surrounded by people who are not just eating fast food and junk and all this stuff, like, just daily. We're surrounded by people who, I mean, sometimes they're doing like some hardcore drugs. At the very least, they're smoking a bunch of marijuana. They are drinking heavily. We are in that culture. Lots of smoking cigarettes and all this kind of stuff. We are in the midst of that culture, and we're the weird ones that don't do any of that stuff. So we're backstage in a green room, and we're talking to people about the health changes we've experienced, and I show them my before and after pictures, and I tell them, like, I'm still on my journey and I'm still working to get better at this, but I'm in the middle of doing this and I'm trying to improve this, and I'm having this conversation now with someone who maybe in no other way would ever hear somebody talk about this stuff, because they're not going to go online and go searching for this when they're surrounded by this culture of everyone who's saying, yeah, sure, drink all you want and eat what you want and do what you want. You only live once. You're gonna die anyway. So, party while you can. Like, that's that kind of culture that's there. And so it really ends up being sort of a mission field, truthfully, to be able to go in and just try to give people information to help them improve one step at a time. And, we've really found a great deal of fulfillment out of just trying to take information to people who could really benefit from it. And so I wouldn't be able to do all of that if I hadn't been through all of the things that I went through, because I can't relate to someone that maybe I haven't experienced some of those struggles, or at least they think I can't relate to them if I haven't experienced it. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
That is so true. Can we enjoy life without the intoxicants? And certainly, I think that the truth is, yeah, we can. There's a lot of joy without them. I just want to Papa Carnivore says something about his grandmother's heavy set that allowed her to live to 103. It was the very clean diet. She never smoked or drank alcohol. Now, my grandmother lived to 104, and she smoked Pall Malls and drank Manhattans. So ultimately, I would say we have no idea why some people live longer than others.
No idea.
Yeah.
We have no idea. All right. Primal Fox Holistics on Instagram. As a soil microscopist, I can attest to the process that every single tree and plant output into the mycorrhizal fungal network is to retrieve the nutrients they need at any cost. I mean, I think that's truly what we're all about, because, you know, we're on the same journey, and maybe we think way too much about all this stuff because as a omnivore, and there is some clean living and some ideas but why are we always trying scientifically to explain what we truly don't even understand?
Yeah, I feel like the depth of the intricacy of our bodies, of the world around us, of nutrition, of all of this stuff goes so far deeper than anything I'm certainly capable of understanding. I mean, I look to people who are experts in this that are a lot smarter than me to try to understand it. And I get very unsatisfactory answers as a result of that, because it's so infinitely more complicated than I think we probably realize. And I mean, the universe is a big place, and I think there's a lot of stuff going on. When you ask, like, what are we potentially just overthinking some of these things, or are we labeling things or whatever? I think that's, for me at least, a very hard question to answer. I'm always in the pursuit of a better answer, but I'm also never counting on being satisfied with the answer I'm going to get.
What kind of comments, pushback do you get from family, friends, co-workers? You know, you get exposed to a lot of people when you're working your music, your group. And I was just at your wife's website, by the way. What kind of comments and pushback do you get from family, friends, other people when they find out about your way of eating?
Yeah, I think the most common concern, I have honestly very fortunate. I have not received a lot of the pushback of people really being insistent on, you need to stop this. I haven't really had that in my family or my friend group, but what I do get is the concern of, are you really sure this is good for you? And honestly, the one that comes up most frequently is the amount of saturated fat that I get and the heart issues that they assume are going to come as a result. And probably the second one that I hear the most is, well, what about all of the micronutrients and the phytonutrients and all of the magical things that are in all of the vegetables that you're now not getting? And and I mean, and I understand they mean well, and it's what they've been trained to think of and be concerned with. And so my general response is usually with like the heart issue type stuff. I'll show them the research that is out there, that the saturated fat and the cholesterol and the heart issues and all of that are not what we've all been told over such a long period of time. And then I will also, related to the vegetable comments and the phytonutrients and all these things, I say, well, I appreciate the concern. Can you tell me which ones you're concerned I'm not getting and why I need them? And I usually get a blank stare in response.
Dr. Kiltz, should we take some of these questions?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Go for it.
Richard Hepburn, line diet for 6 months. Is it normal for glucose to spike after exercise?
Stop measuring it. I mean, this idea, glucose, what is glucose for? It's a glycosylating agent. Glycosylation is critical for post-translational modification of proteins. And so we're measuring all these things and trying to wonder, well, what is it for? I mean, when you eat food, especially that has a lot of plant in it, glucose goes up because it's supposed to, and then insulin goes up in order to convert glucose to fat. So I would say that if it goes up, it must be normal, because it does. But again, with Sean Baker last night, it's like, why are we measuring all this stuff? Like, does it really matter that much? And everyone makes insulin to be the bad guy. Insulin, like, without insulin, you're dead. And insulin's job is to make fat out of amino acids and sugars in the liver. So I would say, if it went up, it must be normal. What do you say, Dr. Nelson?
Well, I already answered him in the chat, and the short answer is yes, it's normal, or yes, but it does. The glucose goes up when you're exercising, and many other events to spike. That is a normal reaction.
Next.
Mark T. I'm 7 weeks in carnivore. Is yogurt and cottage cheese a problem for carnivore? It's my only treat that helps me not get bored with meat only. Maybe half a cup a day.
Of what?
A yogurt and cottage cheese.
Again, small amounts of these things aren't our killer. Cottage cheese, I don't touch. I'd rather have some Parmesan Reggiano. But, small amounts of these things are not bad. But, milk products are really for babies and from a breast and not from a bottle, technically. So, I think that small amounts are okay. If it's all the time, cottage cheese is a low-fat cheese. I don't touch it. And I don't do yogurt because I don't want to eat all those microbes. I think they're deadly for us.
There you go. That's the answer. Let's see.
We're always helpful for Dr. Nelson to chime in because have a little bit of different ideas, which are good, by the way. This is not to say, there's only one way to do this. So, does glucose going up mean you overdid it in exercise? I guess you could break down some of your muscle cells, but that was a shaky no by Dr. Nelson.
Next. Let's see. Next question. I've read about the possibility of giving cattle mRNA vaccine and also labeling beef as USA as country of origin when it may not be. What is someone on a fixed income supposed to do regarding buying beef? Buy the best you can.
It's sort of like, is the world going to end? I guess one day it will for all of us, right? Upon our death. But ultimately, I don't worry about those things. I eat the meat. I'm happy every day. And I stay away from the plants in general. And I obviously, if you can get local grass-fed. Now, I like grain finished personally. And they could grain finish right on the grass, by the way, out on the range. But I don't worry about those things. What are your thoughts? Chris, do you have any thoughts on these?
I do on this one especially. I think for me, when it comes to the beef that I purchase, I look at it like this. I have a certain amount of money that I can put into the food because I still have bills that have to be paid because we still live in a real world. And what is the alternative to you buying the beef you can afford? Well, the only alternative I can think of for me, and I think probably for a lot of people, is to go buy junk that's not beef. And listen, musicians don't get rich. Some of them do, but that's a very few of them. Musicians don't get rich up front. You got to deal with what you've got. And I can make massive impacts on my health. I have made massive impacts on my health buying the cheapest beef because that's what I was able to afford, and that's a much better alternative than me going and buying the processed junk that made me 400 pounds. So I do the best I can, and if my brain cleans up, my creativity goes up, maybe my income goes up over time, or maybe I find new paths to do things, then I'll buy better when I can afford it.
A little note here from Carnivore Muscle. Glucose goes up during and after exercise anticipation for future bouts of exercise. This scientist GLUT4 receptors
sensitizes
GLUT4 receptors due to the temporary depletion of glycogen muscle. I don't believe that. It makes no sense that glycogen is depleted. I've never seen anyone with depleted glycogen at all. It makes no sense. Again, glycogen is a glycoprotein that stores glucose for glycosylation. And I don't believe the science personally on that one. So
Okay.
next question.
Next question. I do have a question, but what about like bologna and like hot dogs and things like this? Like, what if you can only afford those? What would you say, Chris? Doctor Chris? Anybody? What would you
No,
say?
Dr. Nelson.
Eat what you can afford. Uh, I do have a preference, uh, but I cannot buy Wagyu ribeye steak to have every day. I'm sorry, I just
But
can't.
there's
But so I went yesterday hunting. I go
Hmm.
hunting to the supermarket to the beef,
Costco.
and I bought beef belly was pretty cheap in the three something a pound, I think. I bought like five different rare or lower cost items. Okay, it's okay, you know. Uh, Now, once in a while, if I'm traveling and I'm hungry, I might go and have a hot dog at 7-Eleven. Well, it's not perfect. It's not great. Oh, Dr. Vasquez had a hot dog. It would have been better to buy the full bag of Cape Cod potato chips that I used to get and eat the whole bag. No, uh, it does. It does have maybe a little bit of sugar. I don't even know what might be in there, but so circumstances, just eat the best way you can. Do
Yeah.
I prefer the better high quality meat? Yeah.
And Nicholas Roy, basically, I mean, there's great chicken, whole chicken parts, organ meats, ground beef. There's lots of sales out there. I mean, a lot of places. Interesting. They put things on sale to get you to their market because most people are not only going to buy that cheap meat, they're going to buy also other things. We're the minority out there, right? And I was watching Bella and Max in Vegas, finding I can't remember what the app is, LL, or there was an app they were using. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to text her and find out the app where you could find your local sales in
Flip,
your area.
flip.
Flip, FLLIP.
I think two piece. I haven't. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you find local value, and I think that's really important. Like really finding cheap meat is really easy out there, and even eggs and things like that. What's your favorite meat to buy, Chris?
Yeah, so my favorite, if I can find it and I can afford it, my favorite cut of steak right now is picanha. I love doing picanha. Picanha is fantastic. If I can't get picanha, the next thing that I would love is a good ribeye. But honestly, if I can't get one of the two of those, I mean, all the other cuts of steak and beef and everything, sure, I can cook and they're all great. But honestly, next to those, 7327 ground beef, just good high fat quality ground beef. It's enjoyable. It's easy to cook, and truthfully, it's usually something I find it on sale and I buy it in bulk and I patty it up and stick it in the freezer and I've got it ready to go.
I have picanha steaks dry aging in my refrigerator right now. I cut it
I've
up
got
yesterday,
four in my fridge.
and 3 days ago I took a picanha. I did it in a slow cooker, which
Hmm.
wasn't that great. I prefer the steaks or the on the fire. The picanha.
Hmm.
It's one of
Yeah.
my favorites, and it was seven something a pound.
It's great.
Well, number one is we appreciate everyone in their comments. They're sharing. Like, subscribe. You got to go to Chris is cooking Nashville. Really great stuff. We put his link here. Yeah. And let's get over 200 here. We're shy of 11 to 200. So share the link here so we can bring more people to our YouTube. But again, Instagram, Kiltz Mighty Tribe. We're really excited about it. Maybe we need to do a little more 5 p.m.s, Dr. Nelson. What do you think?
It's coming. It's coming.
I'll help arrange those.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
We do have a 4:15 this week with Anita, ketogenic woman. 4:15 in the afternoon on Thursday.
Oh yeah. It's cool. I'm traveling to Austin.
Yeah.
And the Austin meetup. Yeah, we got to get people to Austin. It's really important. Healing humanity. Where's it at? What's the link, Alia?
It's on your website for sure.
What is the link?
Sorry.
Kiltz Meetup.
KiltzMeetup.com.
If you go to Dr. Kiltz's website now, it's now fixed. Actually, on the first page, the first thing you're going to see is Austin Meetup, and then under that, you're going to see all the next upcoming events Dr. Kiltz is going to be at, and you can click and buy tickets to any of those.
And let's make sure we put the time zones on these things.
Oh man, yeah,
time zones. Amy, we got to get Amy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly.
All good.
So Chris, what is your favorite carnivore meal to cook?
So, so I have two that are go-tos for me, and it really depends on how much time I have. If I have the time and the energy to really focus on it, it's definitely the picanha. I actually have a new dry age chamber fridge that I am doing a video for. I had a company that wanted me to do a review of their fridge, so I've got a new dry age fridge. So doing like a 2-week dry age on the picanha and cutting that up into steaks, really nice thick steaks, and doing that. And I do it traditional Brazilian style with just salt. I use some Redmond salt on it, and that's it. That, and if you want to throw some eggs, or there you go, Maldon salt. That's a great one too. A little bit of eggs on the side, or some chicken or something. Yeah, there's the Redmonds. Yep. So those are the things that I'll put together for that. And I say when I have more time, because picanha, I really like to work on that fat cap and get it done properly, so I can really enjoy that. If I don't have that much time, it's beef patties in an air fryer and eggs. That's the two most common favorite go-tos for me.
I cannot dry age for 2 weeks. It won't last 2 weeks.
That's why I have 4 of them in there, so I can get to one of them earlier.
So what do you think is the real value of that dry aged meat, Chris?
Yeah, so I do like picanha regularly, and so when we got the dry age fridge, the first one that I did in there for 2 weeks, I cut that up into steaks, and the texture was more tender. The beef flavor of it was just more pronounced. It was more intense. In 2 weeks, you're not going to get that like fermented kind of dry agey flavor. Really, that takes about a month to develop, from what I have been told by people who eat that regularly. So you get a beefier element from it. And then what I actually do is because you trim out the outside that gets kind of dried out. This is chewy and not particularly enjoyable if you just cook it the way it is. I actually trim that off and run that through a grinder, a really fine grinder, and then I mixed that in with just some cheap ground beef, and it actually elevated that cheap ground beef to taste really good too. So I got like 2 really beefy flavored kinds of cuts from that as a result. It was so good.
Or maybe the cheap ground beef elevated the other meat.
That could be too.
It's our judgment, right? It's our judgment of one over the other, and maybe again, it's they're coming together in great ways. And I mean, beef is beef, and the fattier cuts. Where do you generally buy your meat from?
So the easiest place for us to get a majority of it is, I mean, if I'm just getting like cheap ground beef, I just get it from Food Lion because they have great sales. And I'm usually watching for like manager special type stuff and, that sort of a thing. If I want something more special, cut wise, like the picanha we get from BJ's Wholesale, just because that's the only place I found it. But then there's actually, if I want to splurge, and spend a little more money on it, of course, there's Whole Foods nearby that has some great cuts, but there's also a couple of butcher shops here in town that get some special cuts.
And ultimately, meat comes from a cow, and cows are fed grass and grains, and ultimately, I mean, where does Impossible Burger come from? I mean, we have no idea. It's a scientific experiment on humanity. Right?
Yeah.
That's the craziness. All right,
Yeah.
191. We're getting 189. Oh,
194. Okay, but if
there we go. All right.
hashtag Chris Cooking, everybody on all channels put hashtag Chris Cooking into the chat. It'll help push the video out more.
Let's get our
Hashtag Chris
Instagram.
Cooking.
Let's get our Instagram and also our Mighty Tribe. Come on over. We got 201, 202. Nice. And hashtag Chris Cooking. Is that it?
Cooking. Chris Cooking. Yeah, hashtag Chris Cooking. Because
And,
I thought Chris Cooking Nashville is just too much to type.
and let's get some of Chris's stuff in our new book coming out.
Yeah.
Kiltz's Keto Carnivore. And we like to, Kiltz's Keto is carnivore because it's sort of like keto carnivore is the king, is it not? Right? Right? We're just playing around with keto, and ultimately we're all on a journey as lions.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think keto is a really great. I was telling Alia when she was emailing me about coming in here and hanging out with you guys. I said I like to think of myself as the gateway drug to carnivore, because if I can get people interested in doing this, and it's like, okay, maybe they use recipes that eventually they won't use, and I think that's great because we're all on that journey. But if I can get them to start thinking about it, then I can move them one step closer. And I think keto is just the gateway to carnivore for a lot of people.
I guess the question is, are we evolutionarily speaking carnivores, and from time to time would we become an herbivore? But would that be, would we rather go hunting for kale or kangaroo with Dr. Nelson? Ivy Sardi, who was on yesterday down in Australia, he's a rock star. He loves I guess kangaroo is pretty common down in our down under brothers and sisters.
I guess so. That was very interesting. He was talking about that.
So do you have a kitchen I could come visit, Chris?
Absolutely. You guys are welcome anytime. Door's always open and dinner's on the table for you anytime.
Oh, wow. Thank
Nelson,
you.
Kiltz, and Alia will be down.
That's right. That's right.
I'll be up. It's up for me.
I just want to know I think Nelson could sing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there we go. We'll do steaks the size of our faces, and we'll have some music going on.
So when are you on live? When are you on reruns? What's your daily routine?
Yeah. So every Monday morning, we do at 10 a.m. on my channel, we do a Monday morning motivation live stream just to bring the community together, try to get people started off on their week right, focused on their health goals and focused on keeping their mindset on the good things they're trying to do for their health. On Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Central Time, I do Backstage with Chris, where I actually cook live and we do recipe experiments, or I show people how to do something fun with one of the recipes I've released, or we just come up with crazy ideas. I'll do things like this last Tuesday. Dr. Barry says sometimes if do the best you can with the food you can get, and so if you've got hot dogs and bologna, that's better than the other junk. And so I took him literally and turned hot dogs into pasta noodles just for fun. And so like we'll do crazy stuff like that just to see what we can do. And then I release a carnivore recipe every Saturday morning. And sometimes I throw in some other stuff for our keto brethren as well throughout the week. So that's kind of what we're doing regularly right now. And then I also, if anyone is interested in the music side a little bit, my wife Ash and I go live on her YouTube channel every Wednesday, and we have a whole bunch of the keto carnivore folks that all come over there and hang out with us too, and we play music live for Ash Wednesdays every Wednesday at 7 Central.
Cool. So a lot of inspirational positivity in this. Would you, and my sense is the beauty I love about the carnivore world, it's not just about what you eat, but it's a lifestyle. It's motivation. It's positivity. It's faith in the highest powers within all of us. Would you agree to that and think that something that we're bringing that's not just about, oh, eat this and you'll be fine?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, the thing that's so special about this community and the reason that we spend so much time doing the things we do is because you can put great food in your body all day long, but if you forget about the fact that we are human and there is a humanity element that is within all of us that we should be sharing with each other and working together to make things better. If you forget about that, then the health kind of falls on deaf ears. I feel like it's there's good things to be done, there's people to be helped, and keeping our mindset focused on the right things, and whatever each person's faith is in, just remembering that is the focus, and that's what we're here for. And having good health is great, but if you don't do something good with it, it kind of ends up getting wasted, and it's a lost opportunity, I feel.
Yep, agreed. I want to just everybody, wherever you're watching from, please toss in the chat #ChrisCooking, because we're going to do the giveaway in a few minutes, and I want to get everybody a chance to get in there.
And again, we appreciate everyone being here, their comments. Like, subscribe, and share. And what we're really working to do is help heal humanity. And if you haven't gotten to healinghumanity.movie.live.com, all those with Carrie, you must. And if you just go to drkiltz.com, all the links are on drkiltz.com. And that's what we're here to, drkiltz.com, to get you all of the links to Chris and many others, Dr. Vasquez and Alia. And if you need to connect, Alia at drkiltz.com. We would love to be on your show. You be on our show, because we're sharing together. And there is a drive for all of us to connect. And you want to go listen to music, play music. You want to just sit and listen and watch, because it's kind of around the campfire and cooking. Just watching cooking. Isn't that like what we love to do more than anything?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Around the pandemic, like many people, I had to use the time I had to be in the house. So I became a cook. I have always liked cooking, but learned or relearned how to cook all my Puerto Rican food and the soups and rice and beans and all that. And then decided to do keto, and nowadays I cannot use what I learned. I became an excellent cook, and I cannot cook what I used to. What is your suggestion for if I'm going to a family or a friend's house and I'm gonna bring something? What will be the easier but still a good for presentation or for taste thing to bring? What do you think?
Yeah. So I think it depends on how far into a keto or carnivore or whatever kind of thing you want to do, if you want to share with people what you enjoy and what you do for your own health and you want to take it someplace, I think one of the coolest things I really enjoy taking to people is you could use picanha or you could use any other kind of steak, whatever. But if you get a really nice, really nice seared off steak and cut that into little pieces and you put some bacon around it and do like a little bacon wrapped steak bite, like that's a really fun like party style food, right? Because you can just use a toothpick, pick it up, enjoy it. Those are fun. If I'm going for people who they're eating standard American diet stuff and I'm trying to encourage them to come in this direction without sounding like the crazy guy who's trying to push something on them, I really enjoy like deviled eggs obviously are a great one that lots of people know, but I also enjoy things like I'll do bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers for people and they'll be like, wow, these things are really good, and I'm like, right, and they're keto, and that's one step in the direction I'm trying to get them to just kind of listen to what I'm talking about. So those are really fun, and they transport well, they present well, and a lot of times it's I think it's more about the plating and the presentation to convince people how fantastic and fancy something really is. Because my great grandmother, I never met her, but she's where all of our family recipes came from, and she was a very well-known cook in the area that I come from. And her statement was always, you eat with your eyes first. And so even if it's as simple as I'm just going to grill a steak, great, get the steak looking beautiful, put it on a plate, and it just makes you more appreciative of the food you're having and the blessing that food is. So hey, look at that, there you go.
Looks great.
A nice fatty fillet, black and blue with some scallops, and it's really simple. But we do love we love watching cooking. I mean, this is sort of like the thing that's the best in entertainment. We come together, and that's why we go to backyard barbecues, and coming together and sharing all of this is so critical and important. Although I have to stay away from toppers now because, but you can scallops and lobster and oysters and clams, and there's so many other things that many of us can enjoy at the same time, which is really fantastic. But we like to be entertained, Chris, and you're entertaining us.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. Right? I'm trying to. Well, I've always said, and this is the thing that I think when I first started my channel, I think there was some misunderstanding that some people had because I was brand new. No one had a clue what I was doing. And the thing that I would always tell people is, you can get as granular as you want about every ingredient inside the food and what it does in your body, and go as deep as you want with all of the science of that. And that's great. But food has this cultural and social thing attached to it because throughout our history, I don't think there's a better way to show that you care for someone than to make food for them, and specifically to make food at a really high level of attention to detail of it, because a resource is something important for your survival. Food is important for your survival. So if you go to the trouble not only to give someone else your resource, but if you do it in a way where you put time and attention into it and you put detail into it, and you get super granular on, I want the crust on this steak to be the best crust on a steak you've ever tasted. I want it to taste amazing. I want to share my resource with you. It's a beautiful way to tell someone you love them. And that's what it's all about, is just sharing that love.
We'll have to talk about knives, sharpening, and cutting boards another day.
Yes.
Go ahead, Alia.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do the we're doing it now. Let's do the giveaway. Who's winning today? Louis! Yay!
Louis! All right, yeah.
Yay! You got my email. Send me your address, and I'll send you.
Alia at drkiltz.com, right?
Yeah, he knows my email.
All right. Just put it out there so everyone knows Alia's email.
Oh yeah, I will.
Alia@DrKiltz.com.
DrKiltz.com.
We gotta keep sending it so everyone knows. And so send Ali a message if you want to be on with Kiltz or Kiltz on with you. Page name to follow Chris. It's chriscookingnashville.com. Those
That's
are our
it.
Instagram. Maybe on our Instagram, you could put links on there, Alia, today.
Sure. And
Also-
I'll just show, right, wait, which one is it?
Yeah, put that on Instagram today, and also put it on our Kiltz Mighty Tribe, the links for everyone. So for Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, go to Instagram later and just put those links in for people. We have a meeting coming up. Last minute, anything we missed?
No. Oh, I do want to show your website. So we're because we did finally get all of the events for the next several events are up there. So I just want to show that really quickly. If you go to drkiltz.com, I got 1 second. Let's see. DrKiltz.com.
And make sure, Alia, make sure you send Nelson a link for our meeting this morning.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good. There we go. There, if you go to drkiltz.com, all the upcoming events are there. There's a glitch on the Yuma, Tennessee one, so I will get more information there so you guys can sign up. But there you go. There's the next several events. And be sure to join for free Kiltz Mighty Tribe.
Yeah, and all right, Chris, God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, Chris. It's been awesome.
Thank you guys.
Bye,
Thank you for
buddy.
being here.